Hey everybody, this is Troy here, putting on a Canadian accent today because I was watching a video. The title was Canadian Accents, Differences Between American and Canadian. And that has always been a subject that has intrigued me because as a Canadian, I am very, very passionate about our language, and I like to distinguish it from American language, not because I don't like Americans, but because I am proud of the way our speech is formed so properly. And don't take that as an insult. That doesn't mean that you don't speak properly if you don't take on the Canadian accent. In my opinion, it sounds very proper, and for that reason, I like to kind of defend it. So this is my short video blog on why I love Canadian accents and Canadian English. Um, I find some words don't work with a British accent. If you saw my last video, I spoke normally and I may have used a bit of a different vocabulary, and I find that's because certain words go better with different accents, so I would never use a word like bit or like Lou or something like that, because those words don't sound good with this accent, which is why certain words are formed differently and pronounced differently. I'm going to start off with spelling, though, because that's something a lot of people don't take into consideration, but I think it says a lot about your history and also a lot about the way you should pronounce the word. And to show how a word can be influenced by its history, let's take the word center. Center um, in Canada is spelled Centre, and that's different from Americans. I believe Americans spell it Center, and that reason comes from the French. As you know, Canada is a bilingual country. We speak both French and English, although I will say a lot of Canadians don't speak French, and a lot of Canadians don't speak English. I, for one, speak both, so I can attest to that. Center in French, centre, is spelled Centre, and for that reason, the Canadian dictionary took it on as its English equivalent as well. Other words like color and neighbor, they are spelled differently in the States as well. For example, color is spelled Color in the States, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's right. Um, However, in Canada, we spell color Colour, as well as neighbor spelled Neighbor in the States, and Neighbor in Canada. Um, for all you Canadians watching this next one's important. Do not say Z. It is wrong if you're Canadian. The way to say it is Z, in my opinion, and an American saying Z is saying it right, because that's how it's said in American English, but Canadian English calls for a Z. Additionally, I have to clear up this whole A thing, because A is not said or not used in the context that so many people that aren't Canadian think. For example, I would never say, "How are you doing, A?" That is completely stereotypical and not correct. In Canada, if we're going to use A, we will make a statement that we need verification on. So if I have noticed, and I posted this on the video that I'm responding to, I actually made a comment on it, a text comment, so you can read that too. I said, if I were to say, let's say I expected you to wear a yellow hat one day, and you're wearing an orange hat. I would say, oh, so you decided to go with the orange, eh? And that was so that it kind of prompts a response from the person. They would say, yeah, I decided to go with orange. And that's why we use it, and that's how we use it. We would never use A in the way that a lot of people think. And when people use it incorrectly, you can tell right away that they aren't Canadian. It's a really big giveaway. What else do we have here? I think that's about it. Out and about, I'm not too sure about those. I don't think I'm saying it differently from the way someone from the northern states would say it. Tell me if I am out and about. Um, I also don't think it's too much out and about in British. out and about, in Canadian. Yeah, I don't think it's different, but if it is, let me know. I'm kind of curious about that. Um, Finally, a message to all you Canadians who like to rip on the French. Um, I'm really against that because it's part of us. So, you know, if you can't speak French, I mean, I know a lot of people. Obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, who isn't from Canada, French is a mandatory class to take up till grade 9, and if you don't, you can't graduate from high school. So it gives a lot of high school students frustration because they simply can't speak it, and they don't. It's really frustrating. But I think that's where a lot of the aggression towards the French people come, is because of our language, and I think that's a lot where a lot of aggression from the French toward the English come, as people in Quebec may have difficulty speaking English, although it is a little bit easier in such an English-dominated world. So, I mean, you know, just tolerate them if you don't like them. But I mean, I really don't think there's a reason not to. They are part of our history. They've helped to mold a country whose one of its main distinct factors from Americans is our French heritage, our bilinguality. So, for that reason, just be respectful towards our other half, and don't treat it like a foreign thing. It is the same, and you know, you can pull in all those sovereignty arguments about how the French want to separate from Canada, but if the majority of them did, then really that would have happened already. I mean, it's a big movement, but it won't happen in my opinion. And for the most part, French and Canadians have learned to live pretty harmoniously in Canada. So, sorry, French and English have learned to live pretty harmoniously in Canada. And with that, I can't really think of too many other things to comment on. I will say that roof is said differently, and that was another thing said in the video that I'm responding to right now, is that Americans don't say roof. I was watching a YouTube video, and I've heard a few other Americans say it when I'm down there, have said rough or roof, but and that doesn't mean that I think all Americans do say it, but I've heard rough said a lot, so I mean, definitely a difference between roof and rough. Yeah, that was my little bit on Canadian accents and the differences from the Americans, but yeah, I mean, I don't really have that much else to say. I'm kind of rambling now, aren't I? Basically, comment, let me know what you think, because sometimes it's difficult for me to tell if people do think Canadians have an accent. It's something where a lot of people will say, oh no, you have no regional dialect. You don't speak with any accent. That's like English without any embellishments. But I personally think that there's no such thing. I think that everyone has a different accent, no matter where you're from. So, also, if you want comment on non-regional dialect and if that is the Canadian accent or not, keeping in mind that the maritime accent would be a little bit distinct from that. Anyways, I'm done rambling on pointlessly. This video's gone on for about 2 minutes longer than I had expected, but with that, I'll bid you all adieu, and I'll see you sometime in the near future. Thanks a lot, and ciao.